Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
Hi, I'm Jessica Faust.
We are literary agents who have taken our popular blog to YouTube to discuss all things publishing. And this one is a bit of a back to the basics video. We get this question a ton, which I feel like we say about all the questions, but it's true. We get a lot of questions, a lot.
There is a consistency, right? People have
Yeah.
the same questions,
Yeah.
so those are the ones we pick.
Yeah, so today is, should your book be completed before you query? The very short answer is yes, absolutely. But I figured we can go into why and what our reasoning for that is and why it's not your best idea to query before it's done.
And when there's an exception,
Yeah.
which is, let's do the exception. So nonfiction is the exception to this.
Right.
The only other exception is if you've been traditionally published. But for the most part, if you're a debut author and if you're writing fiction, or if you're writing something completely new from what you've written in the past, like you're switching over to upmarket fiction, but your past history was cozy mysteries, then yes, you need to have a complete manuscript ready to go.
I can hear the comments yelling at me already. So just to expand on that a bit, if you're writing nonfiction, the reason you don't have to write a full book is you are typically writing a proposal. Please see one of the other videos on our channel. There are probably like 3 or 4 of them about nonfiction proposals. I think we have a whole playlist. If you are already traditionally published, the reason being is an agent can typically shop you on what's called a proposal in fiction, but is very different from a nonfiction proposal. It's usually a significant chunk of the beginning of the book and a full synopsis, all the spoilers. So you would only need to pull that together instead of the full manuscript. So don't yell at us. Those are why you wouldn't have to do it. But why you should write it if you are new to this whole shebang. The first reason, the most obvious reason, and probably the most important reason is that books change as you write them.
Yeah, and this is about you, not about us.
Yes, and they specifically change as you revise them, right? Like seams of the book come apart so often with our clients as well, like not just for authors who are not agented. So if you query a book with what you think the book is going to be, I can guarantee you by the time you finish it, it's not going to be that same book.
Yeah, I also feel like often the first chapter or chapters disappear as you write the book, that a lot of it when you're starting out can be backstory that you're using to set the stage almost for yourself as the writer. But once you sort of find your rhythm, it's that point that's really the beginning of the book.
Yep.
And it's the only way you know that is if you just keep writing. Yeah.
For the soda drinkers, which I am not, but I know that everyone's got like really strong opinions. It's like asking for Pepsi and getting Coke, right? Like your book might be close to what you said it was, but when you deliver that final product, it can very well be a very different thing. So it's better to just wait. And that was a good analogy. We should.
I'm impressed. And food.
And food.
So
related.
I mean, food like product.
Yeah, drink. Something you consume. Okay, so the second reason, again, is just about your time, or in an agent's time as well, is that we might love that pitch that you sent us for a book that's not ready. We might request that book, and then the book is not ready.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this has happened to me more times than I would like to count, where by the time, in fact, I had a situation where an author didn't have a book ready, and then more than a year later, finally contacted me about the book, and I was like, I've already taken on a project very similar to that and sold it, so
it's probably your most common complaint when you sign into Query Manager one day and you're like, I've got 6 of these. Why is nobody sending their book?
It drives me nuts because I like a clean inbox.
Yes, I know. I'm laughing because I know it drives you absolutely crazy.
And if I request your book and you don't send it, then I can't clean my inbox.
Yes, exactly.
So then honestly, eventually, you'll get a rejection from me that says, I'm sorry, I didn't get this. You know, you're welcome to query again. But sometimes when you query again, the time that has passed made that book unmarketable for me. Could be many different reasons, but it could be as simple as it was really hot when you queried and I took on other things that were similar and I don't have room for your book now.
Right, and that was our next reasoning, is that the market could, no, that's fine. The market could change in the time. So actually, I'm going to combine 2 of our next reasons, right? The timeline in which you might send that book could potentially be very long.
Yeah.
And in that time, the market, the agent's list, the agent's job status could change, right? Like, especially lately, agents are leaving, right? So an agent could leave that place and go to another agency. There are too many variables in the time in which it takes one to write a book,
Yeah.
for people to just wait for it.
I mean, the truth is, and if you haven't heard this before, get used to this, but no idea is unique.
Yeah.
You know, so you could send me a really great idea, but I can promise you that it's rare that it's the very first time I've seen it, or that another author won't follow with something similar later. So I might love that idea right now, but if I get 5 more after yours and yours still hasn't come in.
Yeah. Well, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but forever you were obsessed with Alaska, right? You had taken a trip there, you wanted an Alaska book, and then one of your own clients delivered it, right? So your MSWL kind of, not saying that you wouldn't take on another one, but your
I
MSWL,
would take on another.
you would,
but different.
It wasn't as
I can't be similar to this now.
Yeah.
It couldn't be a straight up Alaska mystery. It would have to be a different something, like women's fiction, maybe upmarket fiction. Just throwing you some ideas.
Yeah. Something. But in a different case, it could be that the agent was like, well, I don't think I would need another one of those on my list right now.
Yeah, and that definitely happens. I mean, you know, a good example of that is I was hungry for DEI books for business. And, you know, I had a few come in my inbox, but the proposals actually never came in when I requested. And then finally they did. And those are the authors I took on. Because they had the materials ready, and actually they were really good materials and so on and so forth. But yeah,
there's just again, so many variables in that time. There's no telling what could happen to the market, to the lists, to the actual agent, to you. Not to be grim, but and really, like, the bottom line of it is that you are wasting both your and the agent's time. If you are, there's no saying that you're gonna complete that book. I have started many books as a writer that are still sitting there where I left them. So there's no saying that you're gonna finish it, or that it's gonna be the same book, or that it might not become adult or YA or vice versa. So you're just wasting your own time by doing all this work now when you're gonna have to redo it in however long it takes you to finish.
And I think I have 2 things to say about this. I think sometimes people do this because they want to test out the market. They don't want to do the work. And this especially happens in nonfiction unless they know there's a market for it. But if there is a market for it and you haven't done the work, by the time you do the work, it doesn't mean there's still a market for it. It's what we've sort of said already. The second thing about it is, if then you rush it because you've gotten a request, so now you want to get it out, right? So you're going to rush that book and you're going to send it out. Now you've submitted your not your best work. And I could remember that. And what happens is the next time you submit your work might be better, but if my memory of your work is that it wasn't your best, that leaves a bad taste and impression on me.
Right. I know that another question that kind of relates to all this that might come up in the comments is, okay, well then how long is too long to send that book after a request? Because things happen where you might be
2 days.
Yeah, I would say a few days, a week, unless you're like speaking to that agent and be like, I am just fixing this last thing, right? Like that's happened before, where maybe you get a piece of feedback that you're like,
yeah, but I don't even think you should be doing that. I think the only excuse for not getting it out right away is you're on vacation. And you don't need to tell the agent that. You don't need to get back and say I'm on vacation. It's not with me. It's on my computer. I'll get back to you. It's fine. But to me, if you're tweaking, then I worry it's still not ready.
That's fair.
So I really think that that book should be ready to go within an hour of you getting that request. Like you should mentally be prepared to send that within an hour. And if you're not, then you have to ask yourself, is it really ready? And am I really ready to even be querying this?
Right.
I mean, I'm going to be hardcore about this.
I can tell.
Because I also get a lot of people who I request material and then a week or a month later, and then they get oh, I've completely reworked this and it's a whole new thing and I fixed this. Can I resubmit? You can, sure, upload the new one. I can't promise which one I'll read because if I've already put the other one on my Kindle, that's the one I'm going to read. And also now I think, well, why are you sending me stuff that isn't ready? And how do I know this one's ready? Like, it just sort of makes me question things.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I've definitely had where an author was like, I'm fixing this last thing. And I know I'm a tinkerer, so I totally get it. But there is a broader question that might be raised of, is it done?
Yeah. And when are you going to be ready to move on? And how does that look for a career? Because I need somebody who's going to be able to turn in their book and go, I'm done. Let's move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so basically, if your book is not done, don't send it. Save your time,
Okay.
save our time. Keep your, nose, what is it, nose to the grindstone, and finish that book.
You put your best foot forward when you do.
Some of my
Look,
dad's,
we'll just
my
throw all
dad's
those.
mottos. Actually, those aren't even my dad's. Those are my mom's. So.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay, well, we hope this was helpful. We post new videos every Wednesday, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you back here next time.
Bye.